All right, we're live. Remote work is everything but easy. Every time I hear or read the word flexibility, I personally get really nervous. The last thing I want from work is a lot of flexibility. And to be honest, I personally prefer the exact opposite of that. Let's talk about why remote work is hard and some good practices you can implement on a personal level as well as on your team and organizational level so that you can increase your and your team's productivity. Let's get started. I've been working remotely for about 4 years now, even before COVID, and honestly, I cannot really imagine a world where I go back to the office full-time anymore. Just because I optimize my entire routine and my, day-to-day so that I can become the most effective I can be working from home. And don't get me wrong, I get a lot of good energy from being at the office. Like, I enjoy meeting my colleagues, engaging with them, going on these coffee breaks. The office gossip and speculation is always great, and you somehow lose that when you're working from home. But on the other hand, I really dread the daily commute, and I hate wasting time on just, moving from my house to the office. It just doesn't make sense anymore. If you're lucky and privileged enough to be able to work from home and you don't have children, some of what I'm about to say may or may not apply to you. So again, as with all my videos, these are not recipes. Use your best judgment, evaluate what's best for your circumstances. This structure works best for me. Now, optimizing your work from home routine requires changes on two levels. On your level as an individual, and then at the organization, company, or even team level. One of these two is obviously relatively easier compared to the other. Let's start with what you can do at an individual level. A common trap a lot of folks who start working from home fall into is mistaking flexibility for lack of structure. Some people start their day at random times, they sleep at random times, their work hours are inconsistent, and there's literally no structure whatsoever to their day. So let's start with the first fundamental concept. Fix your sleeping schedule. You need to develop a fixed sleep schedule. Believe me. This is extremely important. This means that every night you go to sleep at the exact same time, plus or minus 30 minutes. And in the morning, you wake up at the exact same time, plus or minus 30 minutes. And yes, that includes the weekends. Now, obviously, I can hear the fuss in the background. Some people complaining, that's too boring. Where's the fun in that? I don't want to live like a robot, so on and so forth. However, if you're thinking like that, then you really have to evaluate your priorities in life. If you want to perform at the level of the people who are on top of their game, then you need to make drastic changes to your routine so that you're able to perform at that level. Otherwise, if you just want to live an average life, just consider work as work, and you want to enjoy the rest of your life, fine. Then you don't really need to optimize all of these things, and that's totally okay. It's a fine way of living. But again, if you want to be a top performer, if you want to be an overachiever, you need to maximize the hours during which your brain and body are functioning optimally. That includes 8 hours plus or minus 30 minutes again of sleep every single night. And this is not negotiable. This is not you sleep 6 hours every day during the week and then you recover during the weekend. Your body, your physiology doesn't work like that. And if you don't take my word for it, go read this book about sleep. It's gonna change your entire perspective about why we sleep, the importance of sleep, and understanding more the science of sleep overall. The second fundamental concept I want you to focus on is to lock your working schedule. You need to start your day at a very fixed time and you need to end your day at a very fixed time. And it really doesn't matter whether you start at 5 a.m., 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What matters is you start at a very fixed time and then you allocate the same amount of hours every day for work, and then you end your day at also the same or roughly the same time. Flexibility in working hours does not mean complete chaos. It means that if you need an hour exceptionally on a certain day in the morning, or you need to take a longer break in the afternoon, or you need to finish your day a bit earlier and then you can recover that on another day, that's what flexibility is all about. It's not about having, a complete lack of structure. And also, it doesn't mean that you change your working shift every day drastically. Why is this important? It's because you need to develop a working ritual or a set of rituals that signal the start of your working day and the end of your working day. And it's very critical because you need to shut off work when you're off work. And then you need to put yourself in the working mentality and working mode when you need to start working. And this is important for compartmentalization, to maintain your mental health, to avoid burnout, to avoid thinking about work every waking hour. And most importantly, it will help you get rid of that guilt, anxiety that comes from you feeling that you weren't productive in a certain day. And for you to recover from that, you need to put in way more hours and you need to think about work for way longer. For me, I have 2 routines. 4 out of 7 days during the week, I go to the gym in the morning. That means I have to start my day around 6 or 7 a.m., hit the gym around 8:30 a.m., and start working around 9:30 a.m. until, 6 p.m. or something like that. Finish dinner, do the dishes, then I do another round of working from 7:30 p.m. till about 9 p.m., and I'm in bed by 10. 3 out of 7 days, I don't go to the gym and I start my day around 7 a.m. I use this stretch in the morning to do more work, and then the rest is pretty much the same. A fixed working schedule also allows you to schedule other activities around your working hours. There's really much less guessing, when I have to schedule stuff. I personally love to use my calendar for all of my activities, personal, work, leisure, whatever it is. This helps me remember less. I don't want to waste my, brain capacity on remembering trivial things about my day. The third thing you need to do is to have a very fixed working spot. While this works differently for different people, all I'm saying is I personally don't understand the folks who work from their bed in the morning or in the afternoon or during the day. Mind-blowing. I personally have a fixed working spot, which is my desk. It's in my living room. It's far away from my bed. I would like my bed to be, and my bedroom to be the place where I just go to sleep and do nothing else. And again, having a fixed spot helps me get into the working mode mindset. And when I'm away from that spot, I'm also out of the working mode. And what I most definitely don't want to do is associate my bed with work. 4, match your cognitive load with your mental stamina. What this means in simple terms is you need to understand the different mental states you're in throughout the day, and then you need to match your activities accordingly. I would love if I can be in a focused state and have the same level of energy throughout the entire day. And there are a lot of people who share a lot of different tips and tricks, like, skipping coffee, not drinking coffee, not taking any sugar, changing your diet. I haven't really found the formula that works best for me yet. Feel free to experiment in that area. But if you have different levels of energy and different levels of mental capacity, you need to learn those as a start. And then you need to match your activities to those mental states you're in. Some people feel like they can do more focused work in the morning, and then in the afternoon, they just need to do the admin work that doesn't require a lot of, thinking and focus. Some people are the other way around. They're more energized in the afternoon, but they're, a bit sluggish in the morning. You need to figure out what's best for you in this area. I personally like to start my day with around 30 minutes of planning. I cannot really work in chaos. I have to write down what at least I plan to do during the day. Even if I don't get to accomplish and cross all of the items from the list, I just at least like to, put a list and have it in place. I also like to, defrag and declutter my brain a little bit. Going to the gym, going on a walk in the morning, I take the long route to the gym. That allows me to, be in that meditative state when I can plan, rehash ideas, do some deep thinking, do some of the creative work or come up with the creative concepts in the morning. And that gives me the buffer to really fill my brain with a lot of different stuff I need to focus on during the day, because I structured these other elements, I put them in their place, and now I can focus on the new stuff. I personally prefer to have my meetings in the afternoon or even late afternoon. My team is located in the US East, which makes this possible. And honestly, I need to tell you that I didn't always work like this. I always thought that I was more of a night owl, that I would wake up later in the day and, work later during the night. It really varies, but I was able to flip it because I had some changes in my life and I needed to start working during the morning more than the evening and the afternoon. So for those who are skeptical, it's totally feasible for you to switch your entire routine. It all revolves around your sleeping schedule basically, and if you fix that, everything else will fall into place. 5, very, very essential. I cannot stress this enough. Physical activity will do you wonders. I never ever imagined that going to the gym or working out or doing any other form of sports will have a direct impact on your mental abilities, your mood, your ability to think, your ability to reason, and your ability to solve problems. I always thought that the brain matters are for the brain and everything else is just physical. These two things are not related. I could not have been more wrong. Going to the gym, working out is wonderful. It just helps you get a clearer mind. You can let go of your stress. You can let go of your anxiety. You can have a fresh start, especially if you do it in the morning. Probably in the evening, you have way more energy or slightly more energy because you've consumed food during the day and you can use that in your workout. However, in the morning, it's just amazing when you do this walk to the gym or your commute to the gym or whatever. Then you get the chance to meditate a little bit. In the gym, you focus on your session, you do good work, and then when you get out of it, you feel awesome. Even if sometimes you're physically tired, but your brain is like hyped up, you can do all sorts of amazing focused work afterwards, and you're feeling high energy levels almost throughout the day. Now, before we dive into what makes an organization a great place for remote work, I want to remind you about a concept called your circle of influence. Honestly, I observe a great deal of disappointment in tech, and I believe this can be attributed to the gap between our high expectations and our ability to make these ambitions come to fruition. Your circle of influence is pretty much how much power you have to introduce change. And it could be defined or thought of as maybe the number of people that you manage, the number of people who value your opinions and can act on them, your proximity to decision makers, your tenure or the amount of experience you have, and so many other variables that can come into play, and they vary from one place to another and they're very specific to the situation. Now, the problem is a lot of software engineers have never even evaluated their circle of influence. They never worked on making it wider and probably never even cared. And with this said, I want you to really think carefully about the next time you complain about something or you try to implement a change and you fail. Now, the first concept that organizations and teams have to follow for a successful remote work environment is to understand that remote first is a business decision and a fundamental cultural change, and it's not just a mere lack of presence at the office. What this means is the whole company, top to bottom, needs to understand that there is no more concept of I want this done right now. Work is done async by default, and there should never be an expectation of an immediate response to text, messages, emails, phone calls in general. Except for one thing. If you have services and you're running services in a production environment, you have an operation where you need to have real-time response to incidents and problems. Then you need to have on-call teams that have been prepared, trained, and the expectation is already set that they need to respond in a timely manner. Everyone else is operating in the async mode. 2. Meetings are booked 24 hours in advance with a calendar invitation. Otherwise, attendance is optional. Ad hoc meetings that just come out of the blue should come with the expectation that attendance from invitees is on a best effort basis. Meetings should be booked in advance with a very specific agenda. Meetings with no agenda are a complete waste of time of everybody. Number 3, meetings are by default 30 minutes or less, unless there's a very valid reason for them to be longer. I personally never schedule 1-hour meetings unless I know I'm going to be using the entire time. And I also run very tight meetings. What that means is if I finish my agenda before the entire time is spent, everybody is let go and everybody gains the time remaining back. The fourth fundamental concept is everything is written, otherwise it does not exist. Meeting notes, action items, documentation, EDRs, ADRs, design spec documents, you name it. If it's not written, it doesn't exist, or if it's a meeting, it did not happen. It's extremely important to foster a culture of note-taking by default, and documenting everything. Why? Because in a remote-first culture, not everybody is going to be able to make and attend your meetings, and they need to have the ability to review and be involved in the process of decision making, or maybe in the process of just being informed. And also what documentation does, it helps other teams from outside of your immediate circle be able to come in, read and review the work that you're currently doing, the progress on certain elements, without disturbing and really having to go and grab some people from a certain team and request specific and dedicated reports. Everybody's able to see and tap into other people's work. And this level of transparency is wonderful because everybody starts to plan around whatever's going on without necessarily having tightly interlocked or interweaved teams. Number 5, most, if not all of the meetings are recorded for future reference. If taking minutes of meeting is not enough, meetings should be recorded, especially the meetings that require the attendance of the wider organization or all of the people in the company maybe. 100% attendance is the exception, not the expectation. People will be on leave, they might be taking some time off, they might be dealing with a personal situation. Anything could happen with people. Recordings are fundamental for people to catch up on whatever's going on at their own time, and also for it to become a reference that they can come back to if they have a need for it. I'm sure many of you are now wondering how realistic is the ability to implement all of these things, and I can tell you confidently that we do all of these things at GitHub and it works fantastically. I've really enjoyed the work culture there, and GitHub has been a remote first work environment way before COVID. That's why transitioning into COVID and dealing with all of the difficulties was very easy for the majority of the company because they've already been operating, using these fundamentals for a really long time already. And again, the problems that I see with the implementation of these is that some people think they're way too important to fall in line. So for example, if a manager comes in and expects everybody else to operate in an async mode, but then when they want something from their subordinates, they expect it to come immediately and they expect an immediate response. Change starts from the top, and managers, directors, and everybody should embrace this working culture because it also affects them. They already have managers who manage them. When everybody understands that falling in line with these simple rules is in everybody's benefit, then everybody will just, adapt, change their expectation and plan accordingly. And that's what's really important. Now, one thing I didn't really talk about is whether the business itself can withstand this working culture. Obviously, the cadence of work is now lengthier because async work, by definition, means the time needed to complete it is slightly more extended. So for example, a startup of 3 people, they might not be able to implement a healthy remote work culture because the ability of a startup to survive is much, much shortened. The startup doesn't have necessarily the necessary resources as a larger organization that can afford a longer go-to-market cycle. Now, that doesn't mean that when doing remote work, it's less efficient. Actually, I would argue that it's way more efficient, even with, the stretching in terms of time frames sometimes. The agility of it all, the documentation will allow for much more cross-pollination in between teams, for much more collaboration, for much more transparency to propagate across your entire organization. By default, you will start breaking down the silos in between the different departments and teams because everybody's working very openly, transparently, and sharing whatever they're working on so other people can get inspired. That obviously doesn't mean chaos and that people can do whatever they want to do. There still needs to be room for coordination, but at least everybody will be in the loop if being in the loop is necessary for them and for their activities. Now, obviously, there's a lot more that can go wrong here or a lot of areas that can be improved. I would love to talk more about them, but in my opinion, these other elements are very specific to the environment, to the situation, to circumstances, to the geographical spread of the organization and the company, and the stage that company is in, whether it's a startup, bigger organization, enterprise, so on and so forth. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave your comments for me in the comments section. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it, join my Patreon community. We talk about all of these things all the time in my bi-weekly hangouts and as well in the Discord server. I hope you found this video informative, and I will catch you next time.